Okay, so I'm happy to see you all. I hope you all had a great break between last fall semester and this week. And so just wanted to kind of go through some things with regard to this semester. Now, this semester should be exciting if this pandemic all subsides a little bit like it did a year ago. We had a spike during the holidays and all came down. And so if that happens, then we get to do some of the things that we wanted to do. So I'm going to get into some of that stuff. First of all, I just kind of wanted to reiterate how frustrated it was for us last semester that the disbursements were handled so poorly. We kept trying to figure out where the roadblock was. Was it the Office of Financial Aid? Was it the foundation which holds the money? We're not sure, or at least I'm not sure exactly where the roadblock was, but we were able to get everything out before the holidays. So I was at least happy about that. So we're going to be in communication with them to see that we actually get these things out on time. Okay, on time. Well, not we get them out on time, that they get them out on time. They already have the paperwork from us. Kristen already turned that in. So that at week 8, or at least at the beginning of week 9, checks should go out this semester. We'll be in communication with them to see that that doesn't happen. I get it. I think they are understaffed like a lot of offices, but this was really important, especially with the holidays coming up. So I think the disbursements did finally go out. And so we'll talk to them to see what we can do to make sure that they go out on time this semester. Okay. Okay. So you might have seen my email. There was discussion in the dean's meeting with all the chairs and directors as to whether students can come to campus if they're doing some sort of internship or research. And the answer came back that if people are assigned to a course to do that research, that they can. And so since you guys are in Sci 4990, that you guys can. So if you check with your professor's okay with you coming in, you can do that. You can do that. So just be careful. Faculty and staff are no longer allowed to wear cloth masks. We have to wear these masks that are provided, the triple layer masks or the N95 or KN95, which they provide. The students, they haven't come out to say that, but and there's really no mask police going around, but I would just ask you to be careful, especially if you're in a lab where there's multiple people in it. Maybe you double mask. These are in the hallways of just about every building, so you can pick one of these up. I know some people who wear that over their cloth mask, or vice versa, the cloth mask over this, just to be protected, okay? So Sarah says she went to the animal facility and they made everyone wear disposable masks. Yes. So supposedly these are better than cloth masks. So, but if you still love your cloth mask, then just kind of wear this under it or this over it. Okay. So they may bug you about it, but just be careful. The KF95 masks are really snazzy and I feel more protected wearing it. Okay. And I think you can get those from the different stations around the university. I know right in front of C's, there's a station here. Or if you want some, just let us know. You can swing by the C's office because we picked up a box and we have those. Okay. So just protect yourselves, not just against the pandemic, but if you're supposed to be wearing a lab coat, wear a lab coat, right? Gloves and all of that. Okay. So you do have permission to come in, even though classes are remote. Okay. Even though classes are remote. Another thing is we have an evaluator for the program. It's part of the NSF process. If you are a SPIRES scholar, we had our external evaluator send out a survey. If you're an LSAMP, scholar, you don't have to do it. It is a little bit long, but it's required for the NSF grant specifically. LSAMP doesn't require it. So if you get that email from Susan Tucker to do the survey, if you can please do the survey. It is a little bit long, but NSF, the National Science Foundation, requires it, okay? If you're an NSF scholar, you haven't got the email, so you don't have to worry, you don't have to take that long survey, Okay, so but please get that back to her because she keeps bugging us in the office. We don't have, all the responses. Yes, Janie, go ahead.
Did we already get that email? I remember filling something out like that back in like December.
Yes, that email should have gone out in December, but there are still students apparently that haven't filled it out, so that's why I'm bringing it up. So if you filled it out in December, you don't have to worry about it. We won't see another survey until May. Okay, we won't see another survey until May. Okay, so here's a big one that I wanted to talk about. Before we had SPIRES, I had put together another program called BioTier. And BioTier was for the graduate students in the biology program. One of the things I built into that program was site visits, what we call work site visits. And I think in retrospect, it was probably besides doing their research projects, they were graduate students, so they already had their thesis projects. For SPIRES, probably the highlight is the research that you guys are doing. But one of the other highlights would be the work site visits. So let me explain what they are, and let me explain kind of how the pandemic may be affecting that. So this is what a work site visit is. Some of you want to go on to graduate school, to PhD programs, master's programs. Some of you want to go on to industry, to work at particular places of employment. Some of you may want to go on and teach at a junior college. Okay. What's been built into the program is something that I think we'll get to do this year. We were not able to do it the first 2 years of the program. The first year of the program, we had the shutdown and it cut off most of spring. And then last year there was nothing, everything was remote, right? And there was nothing in terms of site visits. So I'm hoping we get to do it this year in our third year. And this is what a work site visit is. I want you guys to think about either where you want to apply to school, and some of you are already applying. If you're going to go on to graduate school, where you want to apply. If you guys are going on to the workforce, I want you to think about where you would want to work. And if you want to be a faculty member somewhere, or is it that you would want to teach? And the way we would do it in the past is you go, and let's say you want to go to graduate school. You would look at professors at the different schools around here, UCLA, SC, Riverside, Irvine, Santa Barbara, San Diego. And same thing for workplaces or schools you want to go visit, like if you want to teach again at a JC. And you choose 3 to 5 places, either professors whose labs you want to visit at the different institutions, or the workplaces you want to visit, and so on. And I would have you fill out a little survey so that we can download all this information. And then what would happen is we would reach out to those, it's easier for us to do it. It's not easier for us, it's actually easier for you to do it. But you may not get as many responses as we do. If the office reached out, if I reached out, if I had some of the other professors reach out for us or for you. And this is what it is. We reach out and we ask if it would be possible for you to spend a day there. In that lab, let's say you choose a professor at Caltech, and we had a couple of students do this. It was the last year of BioTier. And we reached out and asked, if they would be, and this was a big deal. This was a Nobel laureate. This was a Nobel laureate, one of the top scientists. And we reached out and said, we have this NSF program with scholars in it. And we basically explain why we're reaching out, which is because we want you to do site visits. And he said yes, and a lot of them said yes. So if we send out 10 emails, usually we get about 6 to 7 responses out of those emails. If the students email out, we may get 1 or 2. So we do it for you. So it takes a little bit of work. And when they said yes, then the students would go and visit that lab, spend the day in that lab, or if they wanted to be faculty at junior colleges, they would go and spend the day at that JC, whether it was Chaffey or Mount Sec or Rio Hondo or PCC or whatever, because that's where they wanted to be, right? Same thing with the workplace. We would reach out and say, can someone come visit? With workplaces, sometimes it's a little bit tricky because they're afraid, especially the biotech companies were a little skittish. It's like, because they feel that they have certain processes or certain secrets that they didn't want anyone to see. So it just depended. And then there's one student who said there's an FDA office in Irvine, which I didn't know. I said, I'd like to go and spend a day at the FDA. They said, okay, we reached out and they said, okay. So the idea is that you guys would think, okay, what are the 3 to 5 places you guys would like to go visit? And then let us reach out to them. And if they say yes, then we put you in communication. And then between you and them, you figure out a day when you can go visit. Okay. And there's things we would have questions for you, like a little survey for you that you should kind of have in mind as you're going to visit. And it was the highlight of that program. Again, they were doing research, but it was their thesis research because they were master's students. So outside of that, this was the highlight because they'd get to go wherever they wanted. So I'll tell you this. I'll tell you what I told them. If you say, you know what, I really want to visit Michigan. I have family in the Midwest. I'm going to go see them anyway for spring break. And I think I'd love to go see Michigan. Or I want to go to Stanford. I want to go see family in the Bay Area. I would love to go visit a lab at Stanford. Name the institution. I have no problem reaching out to them wherever it is. Okay. If you said like, I'm going to go to spring break in Florida, and I looked at the researchers at the University of Miami, and I'm going to go visit this person, I will reach out. But here's the thing. Because you carry the reputation of this program, be it LSAMP or SPIRES, and SEAS, which runs those 2 programs, and Cal Poly, the university where we all reside, you have to go. You cannot flake. So if you're like, oh, it turns out we're not going to Miami anymore for vacation, well, I still expect you to get to that lab. So think about it. I will reach out anywhere, but I expect you to go because, and this happened our first year in biotier, which is why I bring this up, especially if it's a local institution. If it's a local institution, let's say you say, oh, I want to go to this lab to UCLA. I say, okay, great, I'll reach out. And they say, okay, we'll host. And then you don't go. Then somewhere down the line, another student in another year of LSAMP or SPIRES might pick the same lab. And we have burnt those bridges. So if you choose a lab, you go. Okay, that's extremely important. If you choose a lab and we reach out to them and they said, yes, we're ready to host them, you don't flake. You go. It's like, oh, I thought we were going to be going to San Diego, but we're not. So, well, you are, because you cannot flake, because I can't have that bridge burnt because down the line, someone might want to visit that lab too. So what I want you to do in the next couple of weeks is look around. If there's a company that you want to work at, let me know. And there's a couple of things I'm going to ask on the survey. Number one, where this place is, whether it's a JC, a place you want to work, a university that you want to attend, specifically a professor that you want to visit at that university. Okay. If it's a JC, just tell me the department and the institution But if it's a particular research lab, tell me the name of the professor. If it's a place of employment, tell me the place of employment. And then I need a contact. In other words, if you know which professor you want to go visit at, let's say, I don't know, La Jolla, right? Or UC Santa Barbara, I need their email. Okay, so give me their name, what institution they're in, and their email. Okay, same thing for a place of employment. If you can't find a person's email, give me some contact email so that we can reach out. Okay, because if you give me a place of employment, I don't know that we have the time, because there's many of you, right? There's 32 of you, and you guys are going to send me 3 to 5. Send them to me in order of preference. Send me your in order of preference, the places you want to go to, and then we're going to reach out. Okay, so you can see that's 150 places to reach out if you all send in 3. So it's a lot. So I can't be hunting down emails. So I need the name. Please send me the email. I think that's all I need. But in the survey, you'll see what I need, and it's not very much. The name of the person, name of the institution, an email. I don't really need a phone number. And then we will reach out. And again, it was a fantastic part of the program. It was a fantastic part of the program. We had questions that we wanted you to ask. So if you go to a graduate school, right? Let's say, my family and I are going to Vegas, so I want to go to UNLV and I want to visit this professor. Okay, that's fine, right? But there's certain things that you're going to want to know, okay? Any questions that you want, but then other things as well, right? Like you want to know things like, well, how long does it take to get out of this program? How many publications, the students usually get coming out of this lab? What is the curriculum like? What is the cost of living here like? All those types of questions. And I can put some of those questions together and send them out. And then any other questions that you might have as well. And that's really important because you want it to be an informative visit. It's not like a vacation visit. Like, yeah, I hear the UC San Diego campus is really pretty, so I'm going to go see. Same thing for Santa Cruz. I hear it's really nice. I'm going to go. It's an informative visit, okay? So same thing for workplaces of employment. Where do you want to go? Get me an email or 2 if it's a place of employment. If you can't find a personal email, and then we will reach out, okay? And then, like I said, the experiences of the students were fantastic. They had such a great time going to visit. Some students would go together. They would carpool. Like we had people carpool to Caltech. I think we had people carpool to UC San Diego and so forth. So, and I'm fine by that if you want to get together and say, hey, I got told, or I'm going to reach out to somebody at, I don't know, Riverside. Anyone want to carpool to UC Riverside? All of that is fine. Okay, if it's fine with you, it's fine with me if you guys want to go together. It's not necessarily to the same lab, although it could be, but maybe it's different labs at the same institution. So if it's out of state, we have to figure out how to get there ourselves, right? Yes. So local is easy. So if you want to go out of state, if you're like, I want to go to University of Texas, or I want to go to Baylor, which is also in Texas, that's fine with me. I will reach out to them. And if they say yes, again, we can't be burning bridges, so you can go. That's why I said, if you're going to go anywhere, like on spring break, if you're going to go visit family because you have family back east, or if you have them in the south, or if you're just going to go to any particular place like Florida or something like that, you say, while I'm there, I think I want to visit this university. I'm okay with that, but I'm asking that you keep that appointment for that day and not burn any bridges. When it comes to places of employment, they haven't always allowed us to stay the whole day. Sometimes they'll say, well, what we can do is we can do a tour. And that tour might be a couple of hours, might be 3 hours or so forth. And then that's it. Again, places of employment sometimes are a little bit more hesitant to show off what they have. because they feel that, you know, some of this is proprietary and they don't want it to get out. It's a little bit secretive. And we understand that. But at least, you know, they don't have to tell you necessarily the plans of what they're doing, but you can see the facilities, a day in the life of someone that works there. And again, you can interview them. You can interview people at different stages of their career there. So interview someone who just started there. How did they get in? Someone who's been there a long time and does the hiring, like they're the ones that choose who becomes part of that. Maybe you interview them, right? So you can make it a day of interviews and kind of tour around a little bit. When it's a private company, in any sector of STEM, sometimes they're just a little bit more hesitant than to let you just kind of walk around and follow them around all day long and so forth. Okay. JCs, if that's your route, if you're like, you know, I really want to teach at a JC someday, they've always been really great. So again, you talk to the different faculty there, how they got there, what they like and what they don't like about that job. Maybe you sit in on, you know, people would sit in on lectures and on labs, and there'd be interviews. What was the hardest part of this job when you first got here? An example, something that surprised us, is a lot of the people who were faculty at JC said because they TA'd as graduate students, teaching the labs were just super easy. What they found hard was putting together a course where there's lectures and discussion. They found that to be much harder. And we really never thought about that because our TAs don't really teach lectures. They teach labs. So the instructors in the faculty at the JCs, they found that pretty easy to teach labs, but the lectures were a lot harder. So we learn a lot. We learn a lot, you learn a lot. And so in the next couple of weeks, I want you guys to think about it. Who would you want to visit at a research institution? What company or place of employment? Or it might be like with the FDA, it might be a government office. I have no idea where the offices are for, like, for example, the Department of Wildlife, you know, Fish and Game and all that. No idea. But and so you said we can give you a list of places, right? I'm requiring you to give me at least 3 places, up to 5, ranked in order of preference where you want to go. So then how many places are you going to go to? I don't know. We've had it where with some students, everybody said yes, and so they have their pick. We have it some places where no one that we reached out to for a given student said yes, and we're scrambling going, okay, what are we going to do now? I don't know how many places you are going to visit. Okay, you're required from us to visit 1. We had said 1 to 3, but the pandemic, I just don't think is going to allow that. We're not going to get enough places to go. Okay. What if you're graduating this semester and you already have the visitation week? You already have the visitation weekends. Okay, if you want to use those, then that's fine. If you want to use those for this, that's okay. And then, you know, just be mindful of some of the things that we're going to ask of you that will come to you later in terms of the questions and all that. So you can use that, okay? Is there travel grants? So we probably do, you know, in a normal year, we probably wouldn't have the money to do that because we pay for a lot of students to go to conferences. However, because you guys are not going to conferences because of the pandemic, but that money is still set aside, we probably could help with some of the travel expenses. If you base an entire trip solely on the help that we're going to provide, it wouldn't be enough help because I don't think it would cover the airfare and the days of hotel. Okay, so when students have gone out of state for these visits, it's because they were going to go anyway. Like they were going to go visit family, or they were going to go, and then since they were there, they were going to go to a university there. Like my family's from the Midwest, and while I'm there, I'm going to go visit Purdue. I'm fine with that. But I wouldn't say, well, this is my dream school, I'm going to go there. We wouldn't have the money to reimburse it all. So there's that. I don't know how many schools or workplaces you'll get to visit. Originally we thought, okay, well, let's see if we can get them to 3. But I don't know if that's going to be possible. So now let's talk about the pandemic. Reaching out to places and saying, hey, would you mind hosting the stranger all day? Some of them, under normal circumstances, might have said yes, but now they may say no. So the yield, in other words, the return rate of yeses might be much lower. What we'll convey in our email is that you will be, fully masked. Again, if you need N95s, let us know. They provide them to us. It's probably a good thing for us to be able to say that you will be wearing N95s. And if they require you to be gloved, you can be gloved, whether you're going into a lab or not. Purelled and all of that. So, but I don't know in this day and age what the yield is going to look like. Again, is it possible that any given student not get any visits? It's more possible now, but I'm hoping we can get you to at least 1. Okay, at least 1. And so that is just kind of my talk on worksite visits. We'll see how it goes. I love to hear from the students when they would come back from the visits, what it was like. They all had a great time. And it went both ways. Some people came back and going, you know what? I don't think I want to work there. I said, well, that's okay. That's good. That's good that you know that. So you're not trapped there after going for an interview and saying yes. And a month in, you're like, I hate it here. So, it's good for multiple reasons, right? And again, it should be informative. It's not kind of a mini vacation. Okay, so that's that on worksite visits. And I'm going to send out an email to everybody just to remind you, probably sometime today, and by when I want them, because again, then we have to start to reach out. Okay, so let's move on to something else. Every year, and this didn't happen last year, so yeah, last year wasn't, or the year before that, come to think about it. So we've had 2 years of an exception, but every year we've had LSAMP and BioTier, and we used to have the health, California Wellness Program. We've had all sorts of programs that we've run. And at the end of the year, all students had to present at a symposium. The College of Engineering would have its symposium where students would present. The College of Science would have its symposium where students would present. The College of Agriculture doesn't have a symposium, but we would ask anyone in the College of Agriculture to sign up for the College of Science. And so they would present in the College of Science symposium. And that was never a problem, and they felt just fine. We even had some engineers sign up for the, I think they missed the deadline for the engineering symposium, so they said, can we sign up for the science one? I said, that's fine. And so they signed up, and so they presented with the scientists, and that worked out well too. Presumably those will happen this year, but as we see things happen that are unexpected. And so right now I'm going with the assumption that we will have symposiums, and that they will be live. So the College of Science Symposium has always been outdoors, They have all these posters and they put them out there in front of Building 8. And it's always been a beautiful day, thankfully. And so they may still do that. The College of Engineering has always been indoors, but I think if they would probably use a huge space like Ursa Major, where people are spread out. Now, I don't know what the 2 colleges have planned, but the reason I'm talking about this is because they will probably be at the end of April. Okay. And so I just want you to think about that, because we need to have posters ready to go by the end of April. Now, Dr. Buckley is going to come in and do a presentation for us on how exactly to do a poster presentation or an oral presentation. You might do an oral presentation, right? I don't think the College of Science does oral, but the College of Engineering does do oral presentations. So you might do that. But I just want us to be ready, so I wanted to mention it today. Now, does that mean that your project has to be done? No. As a matter of fact, when you go to most conferences, the projects that are being presented are still in progress. Okay, if the projects are done, then they've usually just kind of moved on to the next step of the project and they're presenting that. And so, no, the project does not have to be done. But the poster or the oral presentation, if you want to go that route, does have to show what you've been doing. And Dr. Buckley is going to talk about that in terms of, you know, the abstract, you know, the introduction. What are the methods? What is it that you're doing right now? What are the goals? What are the specific aims? Is any part of the project done? If it is, then, you know, what have been the results? And at the end, what are the conclusions or the future directions? And so what it really should convey is what you are learning. Here's what the project is. Here's what we're trying to do. Here's what I'm doing specifically. Here's what I'm learning. You know, this is what we're going to do going forward. So it's something in progress. I don't want anyone to think like, I'm not going to be done. There's no way. I don't expect you to be done. So, okay, so Janie, so projects, sometimes that is the case. Sometimes projects don't work. But again, it's more about what you're learning at this symposium. So what is this project? What is the question that this project is trying to answer? Are you looking at some sort of biochemical reaction? Are you testing a new type of concrete? Are you looking at the migration patterns of some sort of animal? Are you developing a program that does something? All of that, okay, all of that goes into this presentation to say, this is what I am learning. Even if things don't work, sometimes that's when you learn the most. I remember I was in graduate school and we couldn't get the PCR reactions to work. So we had to troubleshoot them. Well, you know, how much salt concentration is there? Did we put in enough magnesium? And so you learn the most when things don't work. So you got to go and you got to pick them apart. So you can show basically what is it that you're trying to address? What's the question you're trying to ask? What is that you're trying to develop, right? And you do a little introduction. Why is this important at all? Why would anyone want to know this? And then what is it that you're doing? You know, what is that? What is the language that you're programming in? What is the chemical or molecular biology experiments that you've been doing? You know, what is that you've been measuring in terms of, you know, voltage, strength, corrosion, all of that? What is it that you are doing? Now, whether it worked or not worked, that's okay, because you can spend time on the methods. This is what I've been doing and so forth. And if you have results, then great, even if they didn't work, and you can say that. So right now we're still working on this. The results still aren't reliable, which is why we're fine tuning. And you go into how you're fine tuning your technique. We really want to know, what are you doing? And it is what you've accomplished, but not in terms of results and data and conclusions, okay? That's not it. You can present your data and say, as we can see right now, we're still trying to fine tune it because it's not really giving reliable data. So this is what we're going to do, and so on and so forth, okay? If data is not there, you can say, we're hoping to have data by, you know, this summer. And if it's not you specifically, maybe it's just the lab. We want to know what you're doing to see what you've learned, specifically because there's an investment being made in you, right, by the National Science Foundation and by the university. So we want to see, okay, what does the training of our students look like? And so usually you would have, obviously, other students there, faculty would be there, the administrators would go to this thing, staff would be there. And I tell the students, invite your friends and family if you want. We've had people invite their families to their presentations, or if they're presenting posters, they'll go and so forth. Again, it's a new era with the pandemic. I don't know what it's going to look like at the end of April. I'm hoping everything's kind of died down, and it's okay to just to walk around with masks and so forth. And that's okay, the way it was, like, you know, maybe 3 months ago. And so that's coming up in April. And I just want everyone to have that on their radar. Don't think of it in terms of a science fair where the volcano should explode. It's not like that, okay? This is what we are addressing. This is the question, and this is what I'm doing. And even if it's some things that you're just getting started, right? Like I've done this part here, we're just getting started. That's okay, present it. We want to know what you've learned. Dr. Buckley will come in and talk about it. You can ask her all sorts of questions. You can always ask me questions. We don't expect a finished project, all polished and all with their nice conclusions to be presented. It's not really the way it works. Okay. Okay. And that should be in the end of April. They may change it around and go virtual. Okay. But it's the same thing. What have you learned? What have you been doing? So for posters, can we get them done at the school, or do we need to find out our own way to print the posters? No, you can print them here. If you want them, you can print them here, and we'll talk about that later on. Okay. The biology stockroom specifically is the one that heads that. Doesn't matter what department you're in. They're the ones that will print it for you. You just say, I'm in LSAMP or I'm in SPIRES, and we're going to be presenting, and they'll print it for you. The College of Science Symposium is completely unrelated to the RISCA conference. This is correct. The RISCA conference is something totally different. Okay. And they're usually 2 months apart. I'm not sure when the RISCA is. I just saw emails, but I didn't read when it's going to be. They're usually 2 months apart. So it gives you more time. It gives you more time. When is the application due for the symposium? I don't know. I haven't seen it yet because it's just barely January. That may not, the application may not be sent out for either college, engineering or science, till like maybe March or so. Okay. And so you have more time. It's not a completed project. Everyone's going to know what you've been doing, to know what you've been learning. And usually everyone just kind of has a good time, and people come around, and sometimes they have specific questions. And sometimes they'll have general questions. Like I'll usually come up to a student and I'll say, so tell me what you're doing. And so it's wide open, and they just kind of tell me what they've been working on. Okay. And so it shouldn't be that scary. People aren't there to test you. They generally just want to know, what is it that you do? What is it that you do? Okay. Okay. So if there's no more questions about that, and we'll kind of keep doing the reminders. Okay. Okay. What else do we have? We are going to have people. This worked out so well last year. We hadn't had them here for a long time, but we had people from a hiring company. Goodness, who is it? Aerotech. And so we're going to have them come here this semester, whether they come in person or virtual. We'll see what they can do. And it was so good. Last year, they basically talked about, so we said, we need you to kind of send us people who know STEM. So they came and they talked about how you kind of approach seeking those jobs in your field now, whether you're graduating or not, but especially if you're graduating. Okay. And so the university is having a virtual career fair March 1st. So I'm just mentioning it now. I'll bring it up again. So if you have that time, I don't have all the details, but I did see an email. So as that gets closer, I'll tell you. So at that point, some of you are graduating, so you should kind of be in, okay, employment mode, like maybe you already work, but you're looking at your career trajectory, right? And so there's going to be a virtual career fair March 1st, and we are going to have Aerotech back. Not only did a good job, but we had one of our students, because that was sent out to not just SPIRES and LSAMP, but a broader audience. And one of the students who attended actually then ended up applying to work at Aerotech. And so I think she got the job, but I think she decided to go PhD program instead. So we actually had someone from that session think, I want to be one of you guys and go work there. So there's going to be a virtual fair coming up March 1st. I'm going to send you out that information as I get more details. Then we'll have Aerotech. Okay, if you have not signed up for Sci 4990, is that the right number? Then please do so. I think you all done except one. We have a couple of people who can't because they have classes all the way through from 11 to 12, classes that only have one section that are needed for graduating. So that's why I'm going to record all of our workshops, and then they're going to have to submit kind of like written summaries, reports, and questions and so forth like that. You guys don't have to do that, okay? And so, but if you haven't, please remember to sign up for 4990. Okay. I just have, it looks like we're gonna end pretty early today, so yay, that's good. I have just one more request, and I requested of one person, which was Stephanie. Stephanie, thank you for the video, but I figure I'm gonna request it from everybody. And so, if possible, you don't have to do this. This is just a favor that I'm asking you. If you have, or if somebody can take footage of you in the lab, I don't care what, I don't care if you're out in the field measuring whatever it is that you're measuring. If you're in the lab and you're working with equipment, if you're in the lab and you're working with cells and so forth, I need footage. I need footage. And so if the footage can be, I don't know, yeah, action shots are not, photos are nice too. Photos are nice too. I do have some photos. Actually, I have many photos, but if you have, and so it's not required because I know some of you, like if you're in computer science, we know what it looks like when someone's computer programming, okay? But if I can get video of anyone, if you're working in the hood with cells, if you're doing some sort of biochemistry thing, if you're working with something that explodes, that would be awesome for you to say, here, take a video of this with my cell phone, okay? So yes, you can have, we actually do have people, when would you need that video? You know, I think maybe by spring break. One of the things we want to do is put together a video of some of the programs that we have, but we don't really have action video. We have action shots. We have a lot of action shots, which are nice. So if you're doing something you think, you know, this would be actually pretty cool to capture on video and you want to share it, then, you know, I'd love to have that video from you. You can just reach out to me and say, hey, I've got a video, and then we'll figure out how to get it. Okay. So I'll take a picture with my rats. Yes, Jeremiah, you can take a picture with me. Be nice to the rats during the video. I don't need any videos. Rats are being mistreated. So be nice to your rats. Okay.
And I went to work and I like threw up all over myself in my car.
I can barely make out what you said. Okay. So I want to take a picture with my mice, but I don't know if that's allowed. You can ask if it's allowed. You can ask if it's allowed. A picture, probably. Video, I don't know. So we'll see.
So, and then when I came home also, like I continued to throw up.
I don't think Jeremiah is talking to us, so I'm going to mute him. Okay, there he is. I'm sure he won't take offense. Okay, so no, don't send me videos of dead rats. Very uncool of you. Okay, Danny, I see that you sent me a private message, but let me just kind of make it public. You guys may have gotten the email. Did I send out the email to everybody? If you're applying to graduate school, we can reimburse those costs. So let us know if you have applications that you've sent in. You can email Kristen. She will send you a form to fill out, and then we can start to reimburse you any graduate school applications that you may have turned in. Okay.
Oh, loss. Because you brought that up, that's only before you pay, right? After you pay, she can't reimburse you.
Right. So it's for students, it's on a reimbursement basis. That's what the university allows us to do. If students have a cost regarding conferences, GREs, graduate school applications, it's on a reimbursement basis only. And I think probably because the university probably got burned at one point where they were paying students for this and maybe they didn't end up going to the conference or they didn't apply or so forth. And so they do it on a reimbursement basis only. Okay. Jeannie, you're asking me if I have the correct PPE. We can get you the correct PPE if you need it. Again, we have access to a hub here that's got the N95s. Okay. Okay, you can send me family photos if you want. Yes, that's totally fine with me. Okay, and so action shots are cool. Yes, go ahead.
It's because I applied to a school, right? And then I believe I emailed Christine and she said that we couldn't give you the money back because I already applied, that I needed to fill out a form prior to applying.
To applying to what? Graduate school?
Yeah, it was, I believe, UC Berkeley.
But who told you that?
I want to say it was Christine, but I'm not sure. I'll look for the email and like show you it.
Yeah, we'll reimburse it. There's no problem with that.
Okay.
No problem with that. Yeah, so unfortunately you do have to pay first and then we'll get that back to you. Yeah, but that's not a problem. That's not a problem. Okay. As a matter of fact, when we wrote the grant, in the grant said we're requesting this money for this, right? So it shouldn't be a problem at all. Okay. What's the max you can be reimbursed for? I don't know if we've ever had a max. I think, remember one time we were maxing out at $500 per student. We do have money that we're not spending because it was set aside for like conferences, right? But no one's going to conferences. So we may have a little bit more. We'll do it on a case-by-case basis, okay? There has been times in the past where we saw, okay, we're gonna have extra money left over so we can reimburse a little bit more. So, so yeah, just let us know what it is. And some people sometimes turn in the full amount and we can't reimburse the full amount, but they'll usually give back, you know, a good percentage of it, 75% of it, which is something. Okay. So what is the maximum for conferences if we're going this semester? Again, if there's, so conferences have traditionally been tricky because there has been expense for travel, expense for hotel, and expense for registration. And conferences would get really expensive. And we would usually max out at 500 because we would have a lot of students going to conferences. And so we would just kind of have to look at the numbers to see where we are to know what the maximum is. We might be able to do more than that because we're not spending as much. Okay. But now if we're going to be helping students who are doing the site visits, then again, that would continue to hold that down to around 500 or so. Okay. Okay. For workplaces, can they be international locations? Again, my role in that is to reach out and get them to host you. If you want to go international, then you have to make sure you do everything appropriately, right? So get the COVID test in time to board the plane, to make sure that you've got all the vaccination shots that they require for that. And I'm talking COVID, I'm talking for whatever. They have all of that stuff that you need to do. Yeah, that would be on the student, right? Getting yourself there and so forth. Can we have some reimbursement? Maybe we can now. Again, I don't think we would have a problem. We didn't put this in the grant, but in lieu of conferences, and since this is educational and very impactful, I don't think there would be a problem. So we might be able to help, but again, don't choose a destination based on the fact that we're going to reimburse, because there is an off chance they come back and saying, this isn't in the grant, we can't reimburse this, and then everybody's screwed. So there are we are lucky here in Southern California that we have many institutions. And in San Diego, there's a whole lot that people don't think of. You know, the Burnham Institute, the Immunology and Allergy Institute, La Jolla, there's Scripps and so forth, plus UC San Diego, to Irvine, to SC, to UCLA, to City of Hope, to Santa Barbara, to Loma Linda, to Riverside, and all that. So there's plenty to choose from. And workplaces, again, plenty to choose from. JCs, Mount Sac, Chaffee, Citrus, Rio Hondo, PCC, Norco, RCC. So there's tons of them. So you shouldn't need to have to travel far. But if you're going to travel far anyway and you want to visit somewhere in that location, that's fine. But I just wouldn't say, hey, they're going to pay. I think I want to go to the University of Hawaii. It may not work and you're going to be stuck with a huge bill. Okay. All right. Let me see. Yeah, the last thing I had on my list really was if you have videos, if you guys working, I would love that, doing something. If you're going to flip on a voltage meter, or if you're going to feed your cells, or if you're going to pet a cow, or whatever it is. And so 10 seconds, 20 seconds, that's not too much to ask. So if you happen to be in a position to do that, I would love action shots. Okay, not action shots, videos. Okay.
Dr. Laws, I have like I kind of recorded myself when I was when I first started changing media, so that I can practice, so that I wouldn't have contamination. So if I just give like a snippet of just like 10 seconds, you say that's fine, or do you want the entire, like I have like a 5-6 minute video?
Whatever you're comfortable with. So yeah, if you want to give me 10 seconds, or if you want to send me the whole video and I'll just take a snippet, you know, from where, any of that is really appreciated.
Got it. Okay.
I'm hoping.
And when do you need that by?
You know, I think when spring break, by sometime in March would be pretty cool. If people can get me that, that would be cool. I'm hoping the engineers blow stuff up, but like purposefully, not on accident. So, okay. That is all I had for today. Are there any questions? Are there any questions? No? Okay. I hope you're all well. Remember, if you need anything, that's why we're here. If you need anything, just let me know. We love solving problems. We can't solve the pandemic, but we can solve many other problems. Okay. So with that, so we're getting out of here early. I wish you a good day and a good weekend. If you go out, wear sunscreen. It's winter, but it's still bright outside. So wear sunscreen. I see all your faces on the screen and I miss them all. So next week, we're going to have another workshop on microaggressions. It's going to be, we had this one last year, but he's going to change it up just a little bit, he said. So, so I look forward to that. Okay.